Welcome to our post-game recap of Penn State over Florida International, 34-0. I'm Neil Rudel, joined by Andy Stine. And thank you for the viewership after last week's game against Nevada. We appreciate that, and we'll give it another shot here today. 34-0, really kind of a deceiving score. I thought it was 20-0 with only 3:40 to go in the game. Not an impressive overall performance. James Franklin really admitted that. They didn't start well. They were sluggish. But they did get a shutout. They're 2-0.
Yep.
Heading into the last of the non-conference games coming up next Saturday against Villanova. What was your main takeaway?
Yeah, I don't think James Franklin is ever going to be the kind of guy that's going to complain over a win, especially a 34-0 win. But and he even acknowledged that Drew Aller wasn't very great today. At some points it was just flat out poor throws day, in my opinion. But at the same time, it's a 34-0 win, and move on to the next one. But it's got to be a whole lot better next week, and during the bye week until you get to Oregon in 3 weeks.
Yeah, really a step kind of backward after they had some things surface against Nevada. The long touchdown drives became field goal attempts, but you came away with a little more sense of the domination against Nevada. Florida International, for their level, played really hard.
They did.
They converted 3 out of 4 fourth downs, and stayed on the field. Kind of dominated time of possession that way. But now I think Penn State left here with just sprung a few leaks and can't really feel like it has a lot of momentum going into next week.
Yeah, I would think they're going to have a bad taste in their mouth after this one. Probably none of it really feels good. I'll tell you what should feel good is the defense and the special teams, especially on the special teams part. Just Don DeLuca's blocked punt. Barker is still, he had that field goal blocked, that 54-yarder, but other than that, he's been perfect. And then you also have Gabe Nwosu finally punted for the first time, and he boomed, a 67-yarder.
He did, and he also got one to check up at the 2-yard line, which is a big play. Penn State had a lot of things going for it in this game. Usually against an outman opponent, when you block a punt or you flip field position and you pin the other guy back at the 2-yard line, you make no turnovers, only commit one penalty. They really should have dominated. I thought they left a lot of points on the board last week, and that's why I thought that they would play, a little better this week. Going back to Aller, he admitted after the game it starts with him. He kind of got in his own head. He missed several open receivers. Singleton he had on a bubble screen. It was a really bad throw. He was clearly disappointed in how he played.
And I didn't think it could be a whole lot worse after the Notre Dame game last year, but yes, it kind of probably was worse. But as we know, that's kind of an outlier with Aller more so than the rule. So, there's still a lot of time to get himself right, especially next week. That's going to be big, and this is going to be 2 weeks of practice basically until Oregon.
Yeah, they had some drops. Khalil Dinkins, who James has really talked about being. He thinks one of the great tight ends in the country. He dropped the first 2 balls they threw him. Reynolds dropped a ball, although they went to him and he caught 7 as the game went on. So it got a little better in the second half. You're an old, not so old, but you're an offensive lineman. I'm not giving away any secrets here, but Penn State got blown up on some short yardage runs. I was disappointed in that, considering they ran for a couple hundred yards.
Yeah, especially in the first half. Like the holes were not that big, and it improved in the second half for sure. But that was kind of disappointing to see. And then you had Dawkins that hold on. My personal favorite part of the game was Drew Shelton on the 2-point conversion. So I gotta love it when a lineman gets to touch the ball. That was pretty cool. A holding penalty wipes that out. It was just kind of a kind of like Aller in a way that was just kind of sloppy in a way that we didn't see sloppiness last week.
Well, and that's a point too. It kind of epitomized the game. They just kept holding themselves back. The special teams overall did good things, but they kicked the ball out of bounds twice. They had a field goal blocked, and then on the special teams play, the 2-point conversion, they get a holding penalty called against them. So every time they took a step forward today, they took a step backwards.
Yeah, it could be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Yeah, and that's not what you want to see. And James Franklin, he actually mentioned the sloppiness. There was no sloppiness last week, and that's something to be pleased about. And yeah, he probably can't be pleased about that today.
One thing that I thought he made a good point, that he gave Florida International credit, and they did play. They did play really hard. I was impressed with them, but Penn State's trying to play a lot of guys. They've made that commitment to these players and to the season because they hope it's going to be a really long season. So he thinks that might have contributed to the lack of continuity. They're only 3 for 12 on third downs. Mixing in some of the younger players, and he hinted that some of the substitutions will be less as the season goes on, unless these guys prove that they deserve it.
And we talked last year about how the grind. It was a grind on us last year, and we're just up here, covering the games now. I'm sure it's a real big grind for those guys down in the field. So, yeah, I can see why you want so many guys to be playing right now against Nevada, against FIU, and I'm sure it'll be the same thing next week against Villanova as well.
The danger is you really don't know how good you are, and you won't know that until you get Oregon.
Yeah.
And I think if you would have, continued to dominate today and patched up some things that happened last week, finished drives, you haven't proven that you're going to do that yet, that you maybe feel a little better about where you are. But hey, they got Villanova. They can try to make that a get-right situation, but it's still going to be they need better competition to find out how good they really are.
Yeah, and that's the risk that you take when you don't schedule any of these Power 5 conferences. When you're non-conference. But on the bright side of this, winning games, gonna go into conference play undefeated. So at least they should.
Okay, Andy. Thank you, and thank you for watching. And we'll see you next week.